Steve, it is a rainy, cold Michigan day, and I don't give up. You know why? You know why I don't care, Steve?
Hmm. Care about what? I don't know what it is you're not caring about.
I said it is a rainy, cold Michigan day, and I don't care. You know why?
Open-ended question. Don't know what we're getting at.
I don't care because we're getting on here to talk some Detroit Lions football, and we ain't got to be at work. We ain't work today. Ain't no work today. Ain't no jobs today, Steve. We're just gonna do what we want to do. Talk some Detroit Lions football, and I think we got some interesting topics. One that I think people will be excited, hoping, and dreaming about, and then some real deal ones. So, where you want to go with this thing? Obviously, guys, hit that subscribe button. Think about becoming a member. All of the things.
What are we doing first, Will? Do you want to go with the realistic trade, or do you want to just kill the dreams of children right away? Because I'm good with whatever. It's a rainy, gloomy day. So if we need to
Yeah.
be doom and gloom Thursday, day before Halloween, just a nasty Michigan day, maybe
Yeah.
we should just kill the dreams right away, Will. There's a lot
Let's
of
do it.
reports, a lot of big time news outlets like CBS, Sports Illustrated, ESPN, linking the Detroit Lions trading for Trey Hendrickson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Will I think most Detroit Lions channels have just turned into Trey Hendrickson channels. Honestly, it's like I see the thumbnails once a week on YouTube when I'm scrolling through. I don't watch them. I just see every third content creator is talking about Trey Hendrickson. It's just kind of powered their channels for the last, I don't know, what are we talking, like 12 straight months of Trey Hendrickson content? Well, we haven't talked about him in a while, so I guess it's time to pay our due diligence. Trey Hendrickson, how realistic do you think that he ends up a Detroit Lion, William?
Uh, 0.0000000000001% chance. I go to sleep, wake up, and Trey is a Detroit Lions. So what I'm saying, Steve, is there's a chance. Listen, here's the reality of the situation. This dude, as I look at his contract, right? This is a dude who we could essentially get into the building for 2025, pay the man, and then send him on his merry way. So, is there a potential we could trade for him, get him on a rental, and then send him on his merry way? Yeah, there is. Would we be able to do it from an economic standpoint? We would. Could we potentially give him an extra season, right, and negotiate that and see if he wants to go after a Super Bowl? We could. Would he agree to that? I don't think so, because this has been a man has been after his bag, period. Like, he's been holding out and doing everything that he needs to, going to the media, getting on social media, doing everything that he needed to do to get his bag, Steve. And on top of that, I don't think that Brad's going to bring those type of problems to Detroit, and he's shown that he's not going to spend big money. So, is it financially possible? Yes. Is it probable? Hell no.
I think that's a good way to put it. Just looking at his contract, Trey Henderson, this is from ESPN. Trey Hendrickson has reworked a 1 year contract for the 2025 season with the Cincinnati Bengals, which includes a $30 million salary and allows him to become a unrestricted free agent after this season. So when I think about that, when I think about with what just happened with Hutchinson yesterday, their contracts wouldn't overlap. But Trey Hendrickson would essentially be a rental. You're only be getting him for the rest of the season. Is that worth the risk of trading a minimum of probably 2 first-round picks? One, if you're absolutely lucky, if Brad Holmes had a big hearty set of pancakes that morning and he wants to just go swindle the Cincinnati Bengals GM, is it worth it to get him for half a season if that season ends in a Super Bowl? Absolutely. Does Trey Hendrickson put you into another category of Detroit Lions being favorites to win Super Bowl? Absolutely, it does. He's one of the few game wreckers in the NFL, William. There's only probably 5 or 6 of them on defense. Trey Hendrickson's one of them. Like, it would be a sexy, sexy fit. The money makes sense if you're willing to risk first-round picks for a small run. Now, you could re-sign him, But then you're going to be getting into that. Well, now his money and Aiden Hutchinson's money are probably going to overlap with Penei Sewell, St. Brown, Goff, the guys we talked about yesterday, Sam Laporta, Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, all coming up for contracts. Jameson Williams just got re-signed. So we're just adding another contract. It wouldn't be for this year with how the current Detroit Lions are sitting with their contracts and their extensions and how they're looking. But William, how big of a Super Bowl favorite do you think the Detroit Lions would be? Do you think Trey Hendrickson really puts us into that? Hey, we're one of four teams, because I already think we're one of those four teams talked about as a Super Bowl. Do you think we become instant favorites?
Steve, in the world of the public, yes, you trade for Trey. In the public eye, we become Super Bowl champions. The ESPN is going to talk about it. Pat McAfee, every Detroit Lions podcaster, they're going to be saying this thing is shirt up. We are pretty much favorites for the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, when it comes down to really winning the Super Bowl, none of that stuff matters. I do think, and I know that I'll probably be in the minority, and people are probably going to want to hit me with my own "Are you nuts?" I do think that it could pose problems for the Detroit Lions because of the style of play and what they want to do. Both these guys want to get after the quarterback. Both these guys want to pass rush, and I do believe that Trey, he can play the run. There's no doubt about it. But would he be willing to commit to what Coach Shep has shown he wants to do? He wants to scheme up rush lanes. We're not just pinning our ears back and going after the quarterback. We don't live in a perfect world to where everybody passes on every down and we can just have two phenomenal rush defensive ends and they're just going to get to pin their ears back and get after the passer. It's not real. There's rush lanes, there's responsibilities, there's scheme, and would Trey be okay with being Robin instead of Batman? That's the real question. So if he isn't, it could actually pose problems. It could actually cause defensive breakdowns because he's after the passer and he's creating lanes. So if him and Aiden are both rushing up the field, I've said it before, if we get another guy that wants to rush up the field, it might not work out in our favor. So it's not even something that I'm overly excited about, man. Like the thought of going out, spending all of this money and getting this guy, it merely makes me think about some of the times when these basketball teams go and get these big three, these guys that are big time scorers, and there's only one basketball. There's only one quarterback. Not everybody can get 25 sacks. Like one guy has to be the guy who's getting after the quarterback. The other guy has to be okay with getting the quarterback flushed out to him sometimes. And that's the reality of the situation. I truly believe there's other guys who are really good football players that would fit opposite of Aiden better than even a guy like Trey.
Yeah, there's other guys that are great fits. But when I look at Trey Hendrickson, I don't know what motivates him. I don't know what his ambitions are. I never sat in the room with him, never had a conversation with the guy, but he's been the NFL sack leader the last 3 seasons. I think if I were him, I'd be saying, I don't care about all these personal accolades. Like, I want a Super Bowl win. I want to get to the big dance. I want to bring home a Super Bowl. I want to play a little bit more football after that and just ride off into the sunset and live my life. The one thing missing is a Super Bowl. I don't think he's getting it in Cincinnati. He's definitely ain't getting it this year. And with him being an unrestricted free agent, is he not on the phone with his agent? Like, hey, you guys got till Tuesday. Let me get to a place where I have a realistic shot. And if I'm Trey, I'm sitting down with my agent as well, and I'm having a talk with who those realistic teams are. Detroit Lions are probably at the top. So I feel like if he came to Detroit, he would understand, and he would have to understand that he might not be the big dog. He might still be the best pass rusher on the team, even with Aiden Hutchinson. And that's perfectly fine. But I think if he came here, there's no guarantees for Super Bowl. One guy does not say, hey, Lions got Trey Hendrickson. There's no point in playing the rest of the season. We're just going to, have the Super Bowl in November, and that's going to be it because they're obviously going to win. You still got to get there. You still got to execute. Still got a long way to go. But I think if that's what motivates him is just getting that Super Bowl, the last thing he has to accomplish as a pro, Detroit is probably one of the best places for him to be. The contract makes sense. Give up a couple draft picks to get him, sign him to an extension, get that ring. Let's have 2 or 3 seasons with Hutch and Hendrickson just wrecking quarterbacks for maybe we turn this into a dynasty. Maybe we do, Will. I don't know. But there are some other guys, Will. Who's on your mind? Who do you think is a better fit for the Detroit Lions other than Trey Hendrickson?
Before I let that one go, Steve, I'm going to add one thing. Trey's 31 years old. and by 31, I think he's 30 in 10 months. I looked up earlier, so he's pretty much 31 years old. He's going after that one more bag. I don't think that he's that guy in the mindset of, hey, I'll do whatever it takes, and I just want to win a Super Bowl. I think if he was, he wouldn't be as adamant about requesting the money from the Cincinnati Bengals or a trade. If he was a guy who was willing to sacrifice for the team, he's got to get some money. Let's not get that twisted. He's got to get respectable money. But I think it would be more of that, hey, listen, I want to get paid handsomely per my statistics and what I've done for this team, but I also want to make sure that we can surround ourselves with guys who can help us compete for a Super Bowl. The Cincinnati Bengals they're not far removed from being a team that was competing for a Super Bowl. Right now, Joe Burrow's had some injuries, but that offense is a problem. We're talking about Brown, Higgins, Chase. Like they got all the weapons offensively to go out and put up major points if they could just get Burrow to stay healthy. But the same token, that defense has been a bit of a question. Now, I believe they got some pieces on that defense. Would they be willing to make some sacrifices around that room to get a couple more pieces instead of continuously frustrating their guys doing these hard, tough negotiations and pissing off their players? I don't know. This is a Bengals channel, but for those reasons, though, Steve, I suspect that he's not in that mindset of a guy who's willing to make those type of sacrifices, or he just has an understanding of where he's at. He's a dude about to turn 31 years old, and if he's going to get a bag, he has to get a bag from somebody after this season when he becomes a restricted free agent. He's got to get 3 seasons, big time money, maybe 4 if somebody wants to take him until 35 years old. But I would imagine he'll probably get a 3-year deal, and he's going to be chasing that Aiden Hutchinson money, man, because he's putting up the numbers. He's going to be trying to get that 40 mil a season with those guys in that big time conversation.
Damn, well, you make 31 sound old, like Trey Hendrickson was written in the Old Testament or something. Like, I don't, geez, 31. That's still a young man. I know it's old-ish in the NFL, but I still think Trey's got 5-6 really, 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 really good years ahead of him. But not a Trey Hendrickson show. We're talking a handful of guys. Not a Bengals show. We're not going to keep driving Trey Hendrickson, like I said, like a lot of other people are doing. What about a guy? This is, I think a lot of people left him in our comments, and there's some ties here with. I'm going to slip up and call him Curtis Granderson, the old Detroit Tigers center fielder. It's going to happen. So let me just put that out there. But Carl Granderson of the New Orleans Saints, Will, what do you think about him? A lot of people have been asking, mentioning his name. What's your thoughts?
Steve, both these guys that we're going to talk about to me are realistic. Both these guys have a connection to Coach Campbell in the sense of their organization and everything. So being from the Saints, he's very familiar with the Saints. I'm sure he's familiar with Mr. Granderson. He just fits a guy who I could see opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Big, strong, physical dude, can be stout in the run game, also offers you pass rush. I think this is a guy who, I love his motor. I love how he plays the game. I got an opportunity to watch all of his snaps from last season, all of his pass rush snaps from last season, as well as watching him just play some run snaps as well. I just like what he looks like, man, from a physical standpoint of just thinking of Aiden being out there and then us having Reader, us having Talik, us having Aleem, and then adding Granderson to that mix. Man, with the situational stuff for the guys that we have already and like Al-Quadin Muhammad still being a rotational piece, I think it could really help our D-line and take it up another notch. So, yeah, he's a guy that I really like. I think that he is the style of player that I could envision across from Aiden Hutchinson, and the money makes sense. This is a guy that's he's what, like a 10, 13 million dollar guy a season. I don't got the contract right in front of me. I'll look it up when you start talking, but yeah, he's not going to break the bank. Was it those numbers close?
No, not really. This year, his cap hit is 6.48 million.
Even
He's
better.
got a potential out after this year, and then if any team picks it up in 2026, his cap hit will be 18 million, and in 2027, it's another 18 million, and then in 2028, he will become an unrestricted free agent. So let's just say it's looking like 18 million for the future going forward if this were to happen.
Still not crazy money. I still would say that I think that it would be a deal to get that caliber of player playing across from Aiden Hutchinson.
When I look at Granderson, I just think that this is more of the move that Brad Holmes would make. Um, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, long shots, absolute long shots. If there is going to be a move, and I've seen so many conflicting reports that the Lions are in the hunt or on looking for a cornerback, they're looking for a pass rusher. I don't think it's going to be both. I think it's going to be one or the other, unless you find a team where you can get, like I mentioned, the Tennessee Titans before they traded Roger McCreary. I was looking at them for possibly a McCreary and an Arden Key trade, a 2-for-1. If there's another team out there that has a third tier pass rusher and a second or third tier corner to go with it, and we can get a 2-for-1 deal, I think that's something that could happen. But if it's just a 1-for-1, a draft pick for a player, Carl Granderson seems like one of those types of guys. And there's a couple other we'll probably mention. He kind of reminds me of a more productive Josh Paschal. Josh Paschal is a little bit more stout. Carl Granderson is coming in at 6'5", 260, where Josh Paschal is 6'3", 275. But if you just look at the stats, 4.5 sacks already this season on a bad New Orleans Saints teams. Bad team, William. They're not playing good football. They're going to be sellers. They have to be sellers. They need so many things that they need to acquire so many draft picks. It's not even funny. If the Detroit Lions were to offer them a 4th-round draft pick for a player like Carl Granderson, I'll walk that pick to New Orleans myself, William. And you give me this guy's contract where I get him for the rest of 2025. I'm probably going to pick up the next 2 years. So I'm giving up a 4th-round pick for a player that I'm going to get for 2.5 seasons who's as productive as Carl Granderson. Sign me up any day of the week, William.
I agree with you. Bottom line is get him to Detroit immediately. Is my mindset. I love his game, but I will say, Steve, if we got him in the building, I do feel like this defense changes. This defense changes the options. The options are unbelievable. But what are you going to do with Al-Quadin Muhammad? What's his snaps look like? You know, what is he potentially gonna be? Because he's been playing some good football. So I just hate to run him out of town. But yeah, I just wonder what the Detroit Lions, what the move would be. You can never have too many pass rushers, and he's really gotten hot over the course of the season. I know he's battling a hamstring right now though, but.
And Marcus Davenport's coming back. I think a lot of people are forgetting about him. I'm not writing him off. I think Marcus Davenport gets a bad rap because so many people in this town just want that opposite edge of Aiden Hutchinson to be absolutely dominant, and he's been the one holding that position down. And yes, he's been battling injuries for the 2 seasons he's been in Detroit, but when he's healthy, he's productive. He's a damn good football player. And then Al-Quadin Muhammad, who we were kind of thinking was a second wave, but he came into that Baltimore game well. I think he got a game ball. He should have been defensive player of the game if he wasn't. And he's played good ever since he got that opportunity to get meaningful reps. He's played very well. I'm with you, but I don't know. I think you'd have to bump him down to the second line, obviously. I mean, you could still rotate him in, give a guy a series or 2 off, and that includes Aiden Hutchinson. You know, hey, maybe Hutch takes the first 2 plays off. If it's 3rd and 7, we swap them out. Like there's a lot of different things you could do. I'm not sending anyone off just because we're acquiring another piece, but I think Carl Granderson, his age, his production, he should be available in a trade. I think a 4th-round pick is fair. I would say a 3rd, but the Detroit Lions don't have a 3rd-round pick yet in the 2026 draft. I think we'll get a comp pick later on, but we don't have it currently as we sit today. So 4th-round pick, a guy like him, productive, healthy, always available. Sign me up any damn day of the week, Will.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit confused at why you compared him to Paschal because he's
just because Paschal's well, that's what I'm saying. Like Paschal's great, but he's not healthy. But he's very good against the run. He's productive. I think if Carl Granderson, almost Curtis Granderson, is more productive than Josh Paschal, but he's definitely, without a doubt, more healthy, more available.
Who else you got for us, Steve?
Well, there's one other guy, another young kid. Well, young compared to Trey Hendrickson, who you were just, writing off as going to college with, Jesus' 12 disciples just 10 minutes ago. So I don't know, but 26 compared to 31, that's like an infant, I guess, compared in the Will Ford category. Jermaine Johnson of the New York Jets. We don't need to talk about the Jets and where they are as a franchise, do we, Will? Like if you don't know, welcome to football. They're not good. They were popping champagne just the other day because they were the last team that was winless in the NFL. So they finally got that monkey off their back. I know Will's got something cooking up. I could see it on his face. Jermaine Johnson should absolutely be available from the New York Jets.
The Jets are on a win streak right now. What are we talking about? Like the disrespect around here. What do you mean? Like undefeated over the last week of football.
It's true.
Like so. Bottom line, Jermaine Johnson. He's another one. Steve, when I think of Jermaine Johnson, I think violence. Violence. He's not the tallest guy. I think he's sitting at what 6'2" or something along those
6'5"
lines.
on ESPN. So let's
Is
call
he?
it 6'4".
Is he? So dang, I'm full of shit today. I apologize. I got to
Not
watch
just today, Will. It ain't just today. Let me tell you that.
whatever. But when I watch this film, man, he gets that knockback. He gets that knockback, man. And when I think about somebody opposite of Aiden, man, even more so than Granderson, when he gets hands on people, they move. I like him in the run game. I like his versatility. Man, I didn't know he was 6'5". That even makes me like him even more.
Well, ESPN kind of fluffs it a little bit. So I'll look up his combine stuff while you're talking.
Because when I watched him on film and I'm looking at him next to some of the other guys, man, he just didn't look 6'5". And I don't know. I have to look up his height and weight as well. But anyways, point being, this is a dude who gets crazy knockback, man. He's a physical guy. He's versatile. This is a guy that you can utilize in stunt games. He can also drop back. The Jets are doing all types of things with him. But he's been up and down, man. He's a guy who has fell out of the rotation at times. He's a guy who's been a menace at times. So I definitely think between him and a guy that we're not going to talk about today, but I also looked at in McDonald, are two guys that could be shopped around for some future pieces. I love the fact that he's only 26 years old on a rookie deal still, dirt cheap contract. I think it would make absolute sense for the Detroit Lions to get him in the building. Let's see what we got. If he hasn't had enough production, in my opinion, to warrant a crazy numbers in an extension, so you might get a serviceable deal from him moving forward. I think Jermaine Johnson is definitely somebody that could make sense for Brad Holmes, because we know Brad Holmes most likely is not going to make some huge splashy move.
Yeah, all I'm seeing is 6'5" for Granderson, so apparently that's it. Will must have thought he was Sauce Gardner or something. I don't know. Just maybe we trade for him and we can play him at corner and defensive end, being 6'2". 6'5", 260 pounds. The Jets are just bad, William. They're just not good. A good football team. They're just the definition of bad. And you're right. They have dominated the last week and a half of October by beating the Cincinnati Bengals by 1 point. Absolute domination. And you're right. It is a winning
shootout.
You can't start a streak without winning the first one. So you're absolutely right. I don't know that they win more than 2 other games though. I put him in the same boat as Granderson. I don't think his production's there, but I have to grade on a curve there with how bad the Jets are. And they got some other guys on their defense that are pretty good. They're kind of having when they're the few opportunities, if ever, that they're ahead in a football game and they can pin their ears back and rush the quarterback. Will McDonald is probably not the best pass rusher on their team. It's probably Quinnen Williams, Will McDonald. He might be the third. But I don't see the Jets being in a lot of those situations where they're ahead late in the fourth quarter and they can rush the passer and try to, get those stats. I think they're trying to stop the run because the other team's trying to run the clock out on them to get this game over with. But his production's not there, but I think that's a kind of a contributing factor is the team that he's on. I think if you put him on a winning team, a team like the Detroit Lions, I think he's still probably I might have to put him 4th best pass rusher on the Detroit Lions. Well, I'd probably go Hutch, McNeil, Derek Barnes. Jermaine Johnson's probably 4th if he's on the first line, but I still think he might even be 5th if I count Al-Qadim Muhammad. So I think, there's a couple other guys too, maybe even Marcus Davenport. He might be 5th or 6th. I don't know. We're just moving him further and further down the list, but that's the point is he doesn't have to be the guy. He doesn't have to be the second guy. He doesn't have to be the third. Just be a guy that can rush the passer when we can just put out some packages. I trust Shep to put some personnel groupings together for late in the fourth quarter. If there's 7 minutes left, the Detroit Lions average margin of victory average margin of lead in the fourth quarter is 9 points. So if we're looking at teams being down 2 possessions to us late in the fourth quarter, we're making you one-dimensional. You're not going to be able to run the football. You don't have the time. You have to pass. If we're just shuffling in and cycling in pass rushers, thoughts and prayers. Well, it's going to be a long day for you. I think that's where the Detroit Lions are going to thrive. Jermaine Johnson, perfect fit.
Yeah, I don't know about perfect fit. I mean, I think you would be the perfect fit, but
I
close
have
second.
I have one good rep in me, Will, and I don't know that they want to use it early in November. It might be a Super Bowl. Hey, maybe my number gets called. I got one in me, and then something's going to be torn. A muscle's going to be pulled. I'm going to be on the IR for the next 5 to 6 years after my one rep.
Pass rush Perkins.
Absolutely. There's still echoes of it from 2005, Bunkelman Field.
Get out of here.
Anyone else you got tonight?
I got nothing. Get me out of here.
Had to jump on, talk some trade prospects. It's coming down to the wire here. It's Thursday, October 30th. Trade deadline is Tuesday at I think 3 or 4 p.m. So just a couple days left. We'll play the Minnesota Vikings, but I don't think that's going to change Brad Holmes' mind. I expect to take belt to ass to the Vikings. I don't see Brad discovering any new needs on this team, barring injury. So I think he's got a pretty good idea of what he's wanting to do at the trade deadline. Is it going to be sit and just think that this team's good enough to win, which is probably the case. But if you want to add some insurance, add some depth to this team, because we still have a long way to go. Brad Holmes probably already knows what he's doing. Stick around, hit that like button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.